They didn't yell. They didn't leave. They didn't even say anything was wrong. They just stopped asking how your day was. Somewhere in the last few weeks, your partner quietly resigned from the relationship and kept showing up to work anyway. Same bed, same routines, same love you typed out of habit. But the version of them that was in it with you? Gone. And they never handed in a notice. Psychologists have a name for this at work: quiet quitting. Doing the minimum, staying on payroll, checked out in every way that matters. It turns out relationships have the exact same phase, and it's almost always visible in one place before anywhere else: the way they talk to you. Today, we're going through the 6 communication shifts that reveal someone has already left, even if their bags are still in your closet. One thing before we start: none of these signs on their own mean it's over. People get tired, busy, depressed, overwhelmed. Communication dips for 100 reasons that have nothing to do with checking out. What matters is the pattern, and what matters more is the direction. Is this a rough patch that's being repaired, or a slow fade that nobody is naming? That's the distinction we're chasing. So let's get into it, starting with the shift that's easiest to miss because it doesn't feel like absence. It feels like efficiency. Listen to how they text you this week, not what they say, how they say it. Early on and in a healthy, connected relationship, language is soft and inclusive. What should we do this weekend? I was thinking about us. There's a shared subject. The relationship itself is something being narrated, considered, referenced. When someone checks out, the relationship stops being a topic. Communication narrows down to function: pickup times, bills, whose turn it is with the dishes. It starts to sound less like 2 people building something and more like 2 roommates running a household. Psychologists call this a drop in relational language, the pronouns and phrases that signal we are a unit, replaced by purely transactional exchange. It's not that they're being cold, it's that the relationship has quietly stopped being something they're mentally inside of. They're managing it from the outside now, like a project that's still due but no longer exciting. If your last 10 messages could have been sent to a coworker, that's worth sitting with. Here's a quieter one, and it might be the earliest tell of all. They stop asking follow-up questions. Not questions in general. The follow-up. How'd it go? Then what happened? Wait, what did you say back? That second and third question is what real interest sounds like. Anyone can ask, how was your day? Almost no one who's checked out asks what happened next. This tracks with something researchers have found about long-term connection. Curiosity is one of the first casualties of emotional disengagement, and one of the last things people consciously notice is missing. Because the conversation still technically happens. You still talk. They just stop being curious about you inside of it. There's a particular feeling this creates, and you've probably had it without naming it. You tell them something, and it lands like you're informing them, not sharing with them. Like they're receiving an update, not discovering something about the person they love. Interest is not free. It takes energy to be curious about someone. And people only spend energy on things they still feel invested in. This one confuses people because it looks like peace. The arguments stop. No more raised voices. No more, we need to talk. Just calm. But there's a difference between resolved conflict and abandoned conflict. The relationship researcher John Gottman identified a behavior called stonewalling. One partner shutting down, disengaging, physically or emotionally leaving the conversation instead of working through it. Early in a relationship, conflict is often loud because both people are still fighting for something. When someone's checked out, they stop fighting entirely. Not because it's resolved, but because they've stopped believing it's worth the effort. Why argue for a future you've privately already left? So if the fights that used to happen have simply vanished, and it doesn't feel like closeness that replaced them, It feels like distance that replaced them. That silence isn't peace. It's often surrender dressed up as maturity. The absence of conflict is only good news if it's sitting next to the presence of connection. Check for both. This is the most literal version of quiet quitting, and it's almost identical to the workplace one. Response time goes up and response quality goes down. Not because they're busy. Busy people still send a paragraph if they're invested. What changes is effort per message. Texts that used to be 3 sentences become LOL, yeah. Voice notes become texts. Texts become a thumbs up emoji. Here's the psychological piece. This isn't laziness. It's prioritization. And prioritization is one of the most honest signals a person gives you, whether they mean to or not. We always find the energy for what we've decided still matters. When a reply that used to take 30 seconds of thought now takes 3 seconds of reflex, that's not about their schedule. That's about where you've landed on their internal list. 2 small habits tend to vanish together, and both are worth watching for. First, appreciation. The little thank you for that. The noticing when you did something thoughtful. It's easy to overlook because it's small, but small acknowledgments are how people keep signaling, I still see you, I still value this. When they stop, it's often not because you stopped doing thoughtful things. It's because they stopped registering them. Second, and more telling, repair attempts stop landing or stop happening at all. Every couple has small ruptures, a short tone, a missed moment, a bad night. Healthy relationships have a repair reflex, a callback, a, hey, sorry about earlier, a hand on the shoulder. When someone's mentally out, repair attempts either stop coming from them or they stop responding to yours. The rupture just stays open. Nobody closes the loop because closing the loop requires still wanting to be in the room. Last one, and it's the quietest of all. Future language disappears. When we move, next year we should. I want you to meet my family at the thing in the spring. These small forward-looking comments are how invested people unconsciously plan a life that includes you. When someone's checked out, the sentences shrink down to now, today, this week. The future, your future, together, simply stops getting mentioned because in their head, they may have already started planning one without you in it. Here's the thing about all 6 of these signs. Not one of them is a scene. There's no blow-up, no confession, no dramatic moment where you can point and say, there, that's when it happened. That's exactly what makes quiet quitting in a relationship so disorienting. You're not grieving an event. You're grieving a gradual absence, and gradual absences are hard to trust because your brain keeps asking, am I imagining this? You're probably not imagining it. Patterns don't lie, even when people do. But notice, none of this is a script for accusation. It's a script for a conversation. If 2 or 3 of these have been quietly true for weeks, the move isn't a confrontation. It's a direct, non-defensive question. I've felt some distance lately. Is something going on with us? How that question gets received will usually tell you more than any list of signs ever could. The people who are still in it don't need reminding to stay curious about you. The ones who've quietly left rarely announce it. They just stop doing the small things that used to come naturally. Pay attention to the pattern, not the moment. And if you recognize your relationship in this video, that's not a verdict, it's information. What you do with it is still entirely up to you. If this helped you see something clearer, subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. And remember, connect with yourself and others. Reflect on your experiences and choices. Repeat the process, because growth is not a destination. It's a way of living.